Welcome to the Don Pod, the supporters podcast. Here's your hosts, Sam and Nath.
3, 2, 1, yeah.
The Essendon edge. What they didn't tell you is that it was the edge of a cliff that you want to jump off. The Dons go to Adelaide and get hammered. Essendon 6-6, 42 to Port Adelaide 17-9, 111. Bit of a different experience in Adelaide this year. Obviously, last year we managed to beat the D's over there in Gather Round. I thought maybe this is ours. Maybe it's something we can get on board with, but no. We played one quarter of football and then, didn't, essentially. Welcome back to the Don Pod. I am Sam. I'm joined by I've still got no words for you. Hello, Nathan.
Hello, Sam.
How are you? Do I ask how you are? Is there any point?
Disappointed, but maybe not surprised. In the cold light of it, I was very frustrated. That part of that end of that second quarter was just mind-bogglingly bad. But as I slept through it, I woke up this morning, I thought, but there were signs in the St Kilda game that we talked about that we weren't very good and we got away with a bit there, and a better team would have done this and that to us. And then you watch Rosie and Butters and Horn Francis and go, well, this is what a better team does to you. So,
I really wanted to make that point and I'd forgotten to write it down, so thank you. We copped some criticism. It was maybe one or two comments last week, which is a lot for us.
We're popular people. We're popular. We've got lots of fans.
Being critical of the fact we weren't very up and about after beating St Kilda last week. And I think partially it probably was right. We probably were a bit flat with it. But also we do harp on about it's how you play.
Yeah.
If we'd played 4 quarters last night like we played the first quarter and lost by a couple of goals, I'd sit there and go, all right,
great
beaten
game
by a better team.
Yep.
We showed that we can do some nice things here.
Yep.
We're playing a top 4 side at their home ground. I can cop a loss in that scenario.
Yep.
That's okay. And like you rightfully said, what we saw last week was St Kilda maybe would be looking at that sort of 6th, 7th position. And that's better. We're looking at sort of 10th. So you can get away with a little bit more. When you are playing teams in that top 4, you cannot get away with it.
That's right.
And we know that now.
St Kilda will look back at that game they lost, I'm sure, when they're somewhere around the end of the season and trying to get into 8th and go, should have dropped that one.
I'm sure they're sitting there now going, how did we lose to that?
Yep.
What the hell?
And on the reverse of that, there were patches in that first quarter of the St Kilda game that were just horrible. Mm-hmm. And that was very much the second quarter against Port. The difference was Port just smashed us on the board. Like, they were kicking straight.
That helps. It's a big difference. They kicked, I think, 7 straight before they registered a point.
That's right. Whereas St Kilda, when they did that to us, and we talked about that after the St Kilda game, they could have easily been 7-2 in that first quarter.
Yeah.
And the difference was that Port did that to us.
Yep.
And I felt like that. Then there's scoreboard pressure, and then their tails are up, and then it's a different game. Whereas when that doesn't happen, you get back into it.
Amplified by the fact you're playing in Adelaide in front of a Port Adelaide dominant crowd.
Yep.
And what sucks
all those other factors
so much more is that it's on a Friday night, everyone's watching, and we've just gotten smashed.
And I don't know who started this word, the edge, but I really want to find them.
It was the coach.
Did he?
The coach, yep. Look, the media commentary around it has been good. It's about time they stand for something, but at the same time, you need to be playing that level of football every week. It shouldn't be something you find or you turn on and off. And for the first quarter last night, and we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves here, for the first quarter last night, we had it. And then from then on, it became, like I said earlier, the cliff start again, Sam. The cliff edge I wanted to jump off.
Yep.
Because I'm so sick of this football team.
At the end of the first quarter, I thought, geez, that's carrying that on. That's good football, good pressure. There's a couple of things the ruckmen really need to improve. What's going on there? Centre clearances, well, if we can pick that up, we could be in this game at, half time, and then poo-poo.
Yep.
Poo-poo.
All right, I better do some stats because I'm
Yep.
getting miles ahead of myself here.
That's all right. We're frustrated.
We are. Goal scorers, nice and quick. Gresham 3, Stringer, Perkins, Jones 1. Done, easy. Leading disposals were Merritt 36, Martin 35, and Dersma 26. Big drop off there. There were a few then 25s and 24s. Now, I think we can just go into a couple of bits of player discussion because we lost and there's more to talk about in terms of the game itself later on.
Can I just quickly mention something just off the
Sure,
top here before we go too much further? To put this in perspective of all the people, the supporters that think we're a good team, the game earlier in that day, Brisbane and North, pretty much exactly the same result.
How far you think North Melbourne are behind Brisbane, that's how far we are behind
You think
Port
North
Adelaide.
Melbourne are rubbish? They're coming because they've got some very good young players.
Good talent, yep.
And at the moment, we were going to probably talk about this later, but probably 3 of our best 5 or 6 players were guys that have arrived at the club this year.
Which
that concerns me.
Somewhat of a tick in some areas.
But
for the rest of them, it's an issue. I'll highlight. Well, I've got 5 players on my list here, and you might have a few more you want to chuck in. I highly doubt you're going to be chucking in a ruckman this week.
No ruckman will be mentioned. Positive.
Merritt 36 touches, 7 clearances. 6 of those were from stoppage clearances, though, which will highlight a point later on, and 5 tackles. Yep. Look, do we fess up to what we both did independently last night?
Yeah, might as well.
We switched off at halftime, went and did something productive. I cleaned the house and went to bed.
I put on a movie.
Yeah,
it's part of your own sometimes mental health. We talk about this.
Yeah,
that I can't watch the pain.
It is funny that we both did it independently of each other. That's quite humorous.
I did catch the last quarter this morning down in the shed. I put it on and thought I'll just, in a calmer mindset, I can, watch it.
I was watching the scores and I thought at some point we might kick a couple of goals late or, just scrape through to that 8 or 9 goal sort of score, and it just never happened. But from the first half, from what I saw, Merritt did Merritt things and was possibly our best player again for the 3rd of 4 games this year, I think that is.
I did say to you this morning, so we just hand him our medal list
I think he might have the Don Pod B&F.
Who's going to catch him?
And I reckon he might have the Crichton sewn up.
No, I think he's got the Crichton line up. I don't.
It's round 4. Let's not get too far ahead. Or 5, 3. I'm confused because of opening round still.
Well, round 4, but we played 3 games. We don't know.
No, we've played 4. We're 2 and 2.
Games.
Yeah, it is
round 5.
So it's round 3. No, it's round 4. No, you're right. It's round 4. Look, if you listen to the Don Pod for the clever, you're in the wrong spot. Caldwell wanted to highlight quickly 24 touches, but 8 tackles. And from, again, what I saw, quite ferocious tackles they were. Setterfield, 19 touches, 7 tackles. Wanted to highlight that because we missed that last week, although still 1, ironically. Jones, worthy of a mention again, 11 touches, a goal, and a game-high 9 marks. And that was
really good.
That's what we want to see from the guy.
Yep.
And lastly for me, Ben Mackay, 18 disposals, 13 contested defensive one-on-ones. He lost 5. Charlie Dixon didn't kick a goal. I remember the one shot Dixon had in the first half where he absolutely bellied the ball from a snap. And that was completely victim of Port Adelaide coming out of the front of the centre stoppage and kicking it perfectly to his advantage and took a mark against Mackay. Other than that, I don't remember Mackay really getting beaten. He was solid. He took marks, and big tick.
He played the game we were looking for, and I would say the last couple of weeks he's sort of starting to find a bit of that groove.
Yep.
Now I did hear an interesting stat too, just on this.
Yep.
So he's had 10 wins in his career.
2 of them.
20% of them have come for us.
That's kind of funny. Although I don't think we're in a position.
He's won 2 with us.
I don't think we're in a position now to be too critical of North Melbourne.
Let's take the cheers. Let's take the positive.
I will say, in a world where Port Adelaide kicked 17 goals against Essendon, to not have Charlie Dixon kick 1, that's good for him. Good for the individual.
I didn't look how many of their small forwards actually.
Else. It was Rosie that did the damage.
Rosie kicked 3.
Very good footballer. Same with Jason Horn-Francis, just absolutely fucking destroying us out of the middle. Yep. We'll get to that.
Yep.
Do you have any players you want to highlight before I swiftly move on into more?
Mine are more negative. I mean, look, I thought Gresham was really good in that first quarter. He's certainly the player we've been looking for. I thought Dersma was really, really good. And Nick Martin, I'm still undecided on the role.
It was more damaging this week, though.
It was more damaging, and he didn't have a ridiculous amount. I still had 35, I see, but still a lot of footy. It was just about those guys that just did not arrive and turn up. I was really disappointed with them.
So at the bottom end, Jai Menzies had 4 disposals, kicked a point where he should have kicked a goal, and Port went down the other end and thankfully kicked a goal at that point. That was the second quarter. I noted that down, actually. Yep. Missed an easy set shot, and they went, first time all night, they went coast to coast.
I can't live with that sort of bad. That was a pretty straightforward sort of shot too.
Again, you can be a low possession player, but you've got to just kick them when you get your chance. It's
and at the moment, he's averaging one of these sort of numbers he's averaging this year. It wouldn't be much. He's only, I reckon, getting 2 or 3 kicks a game.
Well, there was question marks for a few weeks over him in the comments, and last week possibly some papered over cracks with winning because it tends to do that.
Does 100%.
Now there's probably some question marks, and there's no VFL this week. They must have just all got a bye for gather round, but yeah, there's got to be someone there knocking down.
So for this year, he's averaging 6.8 disposals. We'll call that 7 and 0.3. So not even a goal.
Yeah, 1 goal every 3 games. Is that?
Yeah, well, how many goals does he just kick for the year? Hang on, I'll just
I reckon he's kicked 2 in 4. No, that's not right. He's kicked 1.
He's kicked 1 goal for the year.
Yeah, not enough.
And that came against Hawthorn.
And last year, what we liked about Menzies was the chasing, the tackling, the harassing, and he was a bit angry.
He's had 5 tackles for the year.
Yeah, and didn't have a single one last night.
Yeah, so
he's not the only one, but
too much. And people are screaming, "Oh, well, let's bring in Davey and that." And I'm like, well, why? Well, his VFL form has been ordinary too.
Yeah, Davey.
We just don't have anyone else. That's the problem.
Fantastic. Yeah. All right, some game stats. This paints a pretty terrible picture in places. Plus 20 disposals, and I need to sit down and actually go through when the last time we lost the disposal count. I feel like we win it every game.
Doesn't mean a lot of it.
However, there's a proviso here. We were minus 31 on the kicks and plus 51 handballs. Too much dilly-dallying and pissing about. Also says a little bit for Port Adelaide's pressure, I'm sure, but just not good enough. We did lose the contested ball, but only by 4. Minus 20 inside 50s. You're never going to even get close in a game of football with numbers like that. Plus 11 free kicks, I thought was fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like 20 to 9. They were single figures.
A few in that first quarter that I thought Parrish could have got for holding and a few different things. I was going,
We'll talk about the ruck later on. I thought there was a few ruck free kicks missed as well, but it's all by the by because we deserve to get flogged and we did.
That's not the problem,
plus 11 hit outs, but that does not tell you a story at all. Minus 9 in the clearances, minus 13 from centre clearances. That's a smashing.
That's
plus 4 around the ground, weirdly. Minus 26 marks. They had 2 easy control possession around the ground. Plus 17 tackles, probably because they had the ball more than we did, although disposals. But
where I was chasing them. You can't hold on to that stat too much. We tackled.
They were winning the ball out of the centre and we were tackling them. That's really all that's.
That's right.
And plus 5 tackles inside 50, which actually, particularly first quarter and first half of the second quarter, was evident and was good to see. But
I agree.
Beyond that, Right. That's actually a good segue because my first point here is that the first quarter, the tackling and forward pressure was elite. It's like I knew. It's like I wrote it.
Yep. It's like
What I noted this down in the second quarter was that when we were tackling, it was 2 players tackling.
Yep.
It was big. It was front on, smart tackles. They weren't falling into the back or anything. And we've had issues for a long time of players being able to break our tackles too easily. And maybe it's a deliberate thing where we're trying to if you're getting tackled by two blokes, surely he's not
It's hard to break.
Get out. We basically had the ball locked in our forward 50 for the last 6 or 7 minutes of the first quarter.
Couldn't score,
but that's little things,
That's
little
okay.
steps. That's okay.
Yep.
So if you were going to take any sort of positive out of that, that would be what I'm taking.
The first quarter was positive.
And this is, you can blame me for the entire loss. I was sitting there going, we might be all right here. Like, we might be an okay football side. They weren't able to transition, but then the flip side was then all of a sudden they were just scoring from stoppages. 3 of their 4 goals first quarter came from stoppages, either centre or stoppage. So I thought, and I think like you might have said earlier, if we can just figure out the middle, which
we'll be all right.
We've shown this year we actually are okay at that.
Yep.
Well, we might be able to sort of stay around in this game.
Yep, I thought the same thing. I thought, geez, if we can just get the ruckman to sort of compete a bit more and hit the ball to the little guys that hang around, this game might be a bit simpler.
Yeah.
But no.
Evidently didn't happen. I will say 1 or 2 things about Port Adelaide, and that is, 1, good side. We know this.
Yep.
2, their pressure certainly went up. Second quarter, and I'm sure
in
beyond.
the second quarter they went a man-on-man defense or play, or I don't know what the term is, but they were a lot more man-on-man, which then ruined that whole frontal pressure sort of thing that we like. Yeah. So I then, again, this morning I thought, now do teams see that and go, well, that's how you beat Essendon? Like, go man-on-man, it doesn't work.
But you've got to be good enough to do it, and I think Port Adelaide are obviously good enough to do it.
Well, there's going to be a lot of teams that can do it.
There will be a lot, but if it's something that where we just need the natural...
Interesting to see if the Dogs do it to us next week. Like, if that's something they'll watch from the tape and go, well, we'll see how we'll play a footy our way in the first quarter, but if that's not working, we know we've got a way to slow them down.
The question is, and this is rhetorical, I don't expect an answer from you.
I'll try.
If you're Brad Scott and you're saying that's the style of...
Why not Chris Scott? Can't I be... No, sorry, that's
up.
not what I would be thinking.
If you're Brad Scott and you're going, this is the game plan that I think can win us a premiership, we just haven't got the players to do that yet, either through development or through recruitment.
Yep.
Then, well, that's the question. Is that the game style that wins us a premiership? If it is, and we just haven't got the cattle, you've got to keep going with it. You've got to keep putting those players in those positions, get the natural improvement from your younger players. Yep. I'm sure this end of this year there might be another little recruitment push if there's players out there that are available and that we need.
We might be in the draft.
So it might beat 6 or 7 teams in the comp, but not 13. But then next year it's the other way.
But I guess if I'm Brad Scott and that's the way I want to play, and is the way I want to play part of the evolution to where I want to get to? Like, is it like that's how I want to play at the moment, but I want to tweak that over the next 2 or 3 years so that the defense changes a bit, but that's how I want them to learn first.
I will say, at least in the last 2 weeks, the transition hasn't been as much of an issue.
I agree.
Yes, we got smashed last night. Their scores from stoppages would have been astronomical.
Yep,
but
it wasn't.
It was so obvious against Hawthorn and Sydney that we were just not in position, not in the right spots, whatever, to defend the transition. We seem to have fixed that.
And that's what worked in the first quarter, is that, again, that frontal pressure, we got up high when the ball, and that's what allowed us to lock that ball inside our forward 50. The only thing, if that bobbles out the wrong way, the ball bounces the wrong way, and there's a Port player spare somewhere, they get it. Yep. They often can just kick it, and there's Port players out. Yep. Like we still get burnt doing that, but you're right in saying that that's kind of working.
Port got a 50 in the first quarter, which I thought was shit. Paul Setterfield was just trying to...
Yeah, he played on, if you ask me, but the umpire hadn't called.
You've got to wait for the umpire to call it because...
Yeah. But I agree, he played on.
Yep. And we actually defended that really well. So last week against St Kilda, there was an exact sort of replica of that, and we were nowhere. They had players streaming inside 50 unmanned, whereas last night we covered that.
We saw improvement.
I can see you sitting here listening to this going, well, they're clutching at straws. But you've got to find the smallest little wins inside the game of football because we were so comprehensively beaten for 2.5 of the 4 quarters.
Yep. Shall we get on to the negatives then? because that's a good segue.
I think we shall.
Yep.
Now, this is sort of all in the same category of centre bounce and general midfield. Mostly centre bounce, though. So Jason Horne-Francis had more centre clearances than the entirety of the Essendon Football Club. Essendon had 6 centre clearances. Jason Horne-Francis had 7.
That's bad.
We had 6 players get 1. We did not have a single player register multiple centre clearances. Port Adelaide had 5 players get at least 2.
Yep.
And then a whole host
So
of
that's
singles.
just that smashing in the midfield. And
Flogged.
that is on every one of those players. Parrish, Setterfield,
Merritt.
Perkins,
Yep.
all those Caldwell. Even though I knew things were bad. I knew things had gone very bad when I saw Stringer in there. And I went,
Yes, I picked that up too, actually. Oh,
yep,
Stringer.
he hasn't been in there
He's
for
been
the
in
first
there.
3 games. And when I saw him in there, I went, oh, they're clutching at straws now. They're thinking we'll get a big body in there. That'll sort them
That'll
out.
fix it. And the issue was it just kept coming out the front.
Yeah.
And structurally, at some point, you'd think that would change, but it did not.
Nope.
And Horne-Francis, I mean, again, they're good footballers. Horne-Francis, the other guy, Rosie, Butters.
Yep, Butters. They all played really
well.
They're all very good football players. There's no doubt about that, but they had blinders too.
Yes, possibly. Structurally, nothing changed. And that's sort of the issue for me. Now, what you wanted to talk about, and this is your domain, is the ruckman. So I'll lead you in with Soldo had 12 hitouts to advantage, Goldstein 4, Draper 0. Go.
Yeah, and this goes back to that. So I heard Brad Scott say, nearly going back to Bad Scott. That's how I remember him. He said, but we were plus 11 in hitouts. I went, piss off. Like,
it's not
seriously,
relevant.
just not relevant. Just because one guy hits the ball, that's not a relevant stat. It's the hitouts to advantage. And that's where the game is at in the ruck. Not the hitouts. You can have 47 hitouts, but if they all go to the opposition, pointless.
Yeah.
Anyway, so and look, we praised Goldie early on in the year, especially in the preseason games.
Yeah.
But in the home and away, I haven't been as impressed. And I thought last night there were several stages in last night's game where he just did not want to contest. Like he ran around the ruckman, or he wouldn't jump and hit with the knee. You know, he just. And we saw him, I don't know if you saw the game last week, with Gawn had just destroyed Soldo. That's part of the reason why they'd won. So they couldn't, compete against that last week, Melbourne. But we go in with 2 ruckmen and couldn't have an effect on Soldo. Soldo dominated our 2 ruckmen. Now, I will be having to go at Draper as well. I thought he's 0 hitouts to advantage is where his major issue is, that he needs to work on that.
And
my big ask.
As well.
Yeah, my big ask for this week or the next few weeks is that, okay, Goldstein, we've tried it. It's great, but, it's not great. Let's get Nick Bryant into the team. He's at the right age now. He's dominating in VFL. He's been dominating VFL for years. Let's just get him in and play him. Now, Goldie, I don't know what we've told him at the start of the year, but we might have to reassess that and say, look, you now just become the backup. If someone gets injured, you can play, but I'm sorry, mate.
Not even that. My theory is Goldie had value in pre-season and early on. He's definitely got value in that side. However, if you rock up like you did last night against, I'm not putting Soldo in the top 5 ruckman in the club.
No, he's not. That's because he's not.
Against a ruckman like that, when you've got support in Draper, there's no point. There's nothing to be gained from Goldstein playing in that game. Now, I'm not suggesting that he becomes the backup and the default becomes Draper and Brian, but next week, I'm saying to Goldie, look, have a rest, mate. We'll reassess next week. Put Brian in because if you're not getting anything from him in terms of protection or ability, there's no point.
There's no point playing him. He's 35 or whatever he is. I would have thought we would have picked him because we thought, okay, if we get a bit like Phillips from the year before, if we can get, say, 14, 15 games out of him, that'll be great. That'll help Nick Bryan, develop a bit more. But you get to the point, well, I think Nick Bryan's probably ready. Like,
look, at the very least,
23. I'm guessing Nick Bryan would at a guess.
Yeah,
we have that data, but I reckon he'd be 23. He's barely been injured. Like I can remember him having a little bit of injuries, but his body seems good. He gets through the stuff. Like, I don't know. I think Draper makes a half decent forward ruckman. Like I do think he's okay. Like take a mark. He's a bit, he does things that you're not expecting him to do. Goldie can't go forward, so that's not an option. So Bryant can ruck and can go forward. So I would like to see that.
And that's not to be disrespectful to the great man that is Goldstein. He is a bloody good ruckman
No,
and
it's
has
not
been
about respect.
for years. But
what's
if
best
you're
for our
not bringing
club.
anything to the team, then there's no point.
If you're going to put up performances like that, don't turn up next week.
At the very least, I would like to see him have a rest and bring in Brian for at least one game, and just go coming up against English next week.
English, very, very good ruckman.
Again, another chance. I actually, when I think of English as a ruckman, he's tall, he's athletic, he run all day, he's quite agile. Yep. I would English is years and years ahead, but I'd put Brian in that category. He's agile.
Yep. He's not a bashing crash around the ground, ruckman English. Yes. He's going to hurt you around the ground. Where we could
Brian.
Maybe even him out.
Yep. So, yeah, good game, I think, for Brian to come in.
So, from the ruckman, then we move into those midfielders who just, like, Parrish had an absolute shocker, like fumbling, like just looked slow, looked something, I don't know if the calf or the groin or the hamstring or whatever the hell's wrong with him has got worse. I didn't think Setterfield's game was great, even though he did some good things. I thought Hobbs was ordinary, like his kicking just shits me. Perkins did some good things. Merritt was the best.
Perkins did his hamstring.
Yeah, Perkins did his hamstring. And see, Ridley's redone his
extended. Yeah.
Yep. So there's another 4 or 5 weeks out there.
It's all going tits up.
Like Brad Scott made mention, there's some soft tissue issues. Might have to look into that. Well, fucking hell. Look at, mate. We could have given you that letter last year or the year before that we have some issues around that. I don't know who does our fitness, but you might have a word to him and say, why do we keep breaking down?
Do some testing on that old surface down there.
Why do young players, why can't we, like you see guys like Scott Pendlebury, who's 47, I don't think he's ever had an injury, still just chipping along, playing good footy, I'm like, why can't, we've got 24-year-olds that break down. Like,
it'll all come good at some point. It's got to, right?
Right, yeah, it's just I might not be around.
Same. That's my biggest concern, actually. Either that or we'll get to a grand final and we'll go in front with a minute left and I'll actually die on the spot.
I do not want us in a grand final because I'm pretty sure my heart will give out. I'm pretty sure.
My issue.
The only way it could work is if we kick 10 goals in the first, 20 goals in the second, and they
score
nothing.
We would not be comfortable still. We could be 30 goals up at halftime and we'd be sitting there worried.
As soon as they kick their goal, like if they kick the first goal, I thought, oh my God, I'm out. I can't watch it.
I've got a mate that goes from Brisbane, and I was messaging him yesterday because he's a bit sad about life, obviously. Yeah. And I messaged him at quarter time. Do you feel better? He goes, nah, message me at halftime. Do you feel better? He goes, nah, message me at 3/4 time. But surely now you feel better. Yeah.
But again, that's us at the moment. We are North Melbourne. We are no better than North Melbourne right now. We've got 2 wins. You can say, oh yeah, we've got 2 wins. Yeah, we've got one against Hawthorn, who probably might walk away with 2 or 3 wins
below us. Yep.
And the St Kilda, which
we stole.
Let's
be honest.
Stole.
We probably could have won by a couple more kicks, but we should have been a lot further down early on. So yeah.
So
the last point I'll make on the game, and this really just
Sam got angry about this, people. And Sam does not get angry.
And I wasted it on you before we hit record.
I want to hear it again. I want to hear that.
Well, I can't drop the C-bomb that I dropped to you earlier.
Cover it with another one.
20 seconds left, not even that. 10, 15 seconds left. High ball goes into Port Adelaide's forward 50, and we have 3.
How many?
3 fucking flogs. There you go.
Flogs.
Sitting there, watching the ball. Any one of them could have taken an uncontested mark. Easiest stat of their life. But no, they all go, oh, no, oh, shit. Ball bounces. They kick a goal with, minus 2 seconds on the clock. It's sailing through. Siren goes. And that's what cooked me. I was like, no, that...
Yep.
They kicked 3 in the last 3 minutes of the second quarter.
That one Rosie just ran through. Yeah, and I'm like, for fuck's sake.
Like, we were kind of hanging around, and you think, all right, if you get to half time and you're 1 or 2 goals down, all right.
It was 18 points, I think, with about 3 or 4 minutes to go. And I thought, that's okay. Look, we've been shit house, but let's get to 18 points at halftime, have a chat, talk, reassess. Who knows what can happen? But then they went bang, 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 and I went, no.
3 players. And it's not like they spoiled each other. I could forgive them for spoiling each other because at least you're going for the footy.
Yep.
The ball there.
I did notice a bit of that where two Essendon players were going for a ball, and both of them sort of looked at each other and sort of, was it yours or mine? Parrish did it with Draper at one stage too. They both sort of, well, was it yours or mine? I don't know. I'm like, oh, come on. One of you just go, and if you crash into the other one.
Maybe that's the edge. They're just edgy. I don't want the ball. Oh, shit.
I don't want to bump into my other player and offend him. Terribly sorry.
Well, again, I will forgive most things if you're just going for the footy.
Yep.
Made my blood boil.
He was very angry.
Too young.
It was one of the first things. Yeah, oh, wait till you become old and bitter, Sam.
I think I'm there, to be honest. All right, on to some socials. It's going to be a short pod this week. Are you surprised?
What did we talk about? Like, we were shit. We were shit. How often can you say that? I can name the ones that were shit. I think we've named most of them.
Yep. Right, socials. Simon Crabtree Hayes, who's, again, another long-time listener. When we go a full season with out of 10 goal loss, then I'll say the club has moved forward. I think that's valid.
Yeah.
We get flogged too often.
I agree with that, actually. The last few years, we've had quite a few of them like those.
I would have said if we can just finish the last month of the season without getting belted, then I would kind of agree. But
yep,
too often.
They've come early.
This wasn't deliberate with the hyphenations either, by the way.
No, just noticed there's 2 hyphenated names.
Isaiah Crook Sims. Merritt deserves a better team. The standard Merritt has for himself is set high, but why can't everyone else have the same? I think, the man's driven.
I think Merritt needs to run the tackle drills. Like, okay, everyone, this is how I do it. Now you all have to do it exactly the same. And if I see anyone miss a tackle, then that's some form of punishment, financial punishment to the group.
Did you happen to catch the Nathan Buckley, Zach Merritt thing?
I watched a bit of it. Yeah, not all of it.
There was one little comment in there that made my ears prick up. And that was that after football, he mentioned about coaching.
Merritt did.
And
he'd be a good coach.
Well, he's not. He doesn't strike me as someone who would do that.
No, he would because he's got a really high standard.
But exactly. So why can't you coach your fucking teammates to have it, mate? It's not too early. You can start coaching them now.
Start coaching on the field. I think that he's. I get so frustrated for him in that you watch some of the other guys' efforts and you go, "Good the love of God, somebody! Why doesn't?" He's carrying you. He's trying to carry you all on his shoulders. They're little shoulders, and very small shoulders.
We just need to, and like the players as well here, need to be reminded how lucky we are to have that man. He was a pick 26 in a year that we had no first round draft pick because of the saga. He was our first pick. And we got him at 26. Can you imagine if we didn't get him, if we got any one of the other hundreds of players that have been taken in the 20s and are no longer playing AFL?
Anyone know who was 27 that year?
Oh, God, let's not do that.
Put it on the,
we'll be here all
put
day.
it on the comments.
Yeah,
I wouldn't begrudge him if he went, like if another club knocked in a couple of years and he said,
yeah, right. This is the thing. Why would he stay? And he signed up his long-term deal. But Jesus, if you're not given a consistent effort with your captain, who quite so clearly is driven to succeed.
Yep.
Yeah, there'd be no bad blood. I mean, I'm sure there would be a lot of bad blood.
And it's funny, when he was appointed captain, I was a bit...
we were both the same, we were a bit shocked.
Yeah, I don't know, but 2 years in, I'm like, nah, he's the only one. It wasn't even
that. I reckon like
there's not even close to other leadership in that field of that team at the moment still. And we said this at the time, that I think we're really lost. Like, like McGrath's game last night was shit house. And, he played a couple of good games, but you can't just play a couple of good games and then just play an absolute turd like he did. Like...
The last comment I have here, I actually was wanting to sort of query what you think as well. Michael John, never trust a bloke with 2 first names.
Well, I never trust first names.
Michael Scott, Michael John.
Yep.
Separated at birth. Delist Laverde and Hines, send Menzies to the VFL for the rest of the year, play Archie Roberts and Lau. I don't know how to pronounce it just yet.
That's right.
Now, a couple of things. Send Menzies to the VFL for the rest of the year. Overstated. Probably should go back to the VFL, but maybe not for that long. Delisting
who do we
Laverde and
replace him
Hind,
with as well?
bit harsh.
I would try and trade Laverde. I don't know. How old is he? 30? No, he couldn't be that old.
He's same age as Ridley. Same age as Langford, sorry. 26, 27.
Yeah, so he's got some value. Like I thought about this the other day.
Well, this is the question I want to ask you, if I could just jump in. It's
Sorry,
about Laverde specifically.
Yep.
Well, I feel like you're kind of about to answer the question before I ask it, so I just want
Go.
He was shit. And I commented in the first quarter when we were playing well enough that he's not the answer.
No,
he's just not good enough. He gets caught behind. He got caught with his back to the
plays
ball
behind, I think.
several times where Marshall just turned around and then Lav was like, oh shit, he's gone. Too late.
Yeah.
At what point, because you need depth, yes.
Yep.
But he is the depth he's playing, he's not good enough. So at what point,
That's right.
where's that line
He shouldn't be playing is the
where
problem.
you go too good not to be playing and then good depth? Because
Yep, great question.
I don't know how we get that balance because
Yeah.
Lav ain't it for me.
Well, I agree. I don't think Lav is the best 23 player anymore. And he is depth, as we talked about, because the round one team he was not in.
Mhm.
He was, it was Reed.
He's there because Reed's out. Yep.
Yep. And I would argue maybe Baldwin might even be in front of him too if he wasn't injured.
That's a great point.
I would like to see Hayes come in as, he's played now a full year last year in the VFL, and I don't think they play this week in the VFL.
No, they don't, but he's had a good start. He had a good game last week anyway in the VFL.
Had eight or 10 marks last week, 20 touches. So I'm like, well, I know the issue. Brad Scott won't do these things. He screams to me the guy that just sticks, like the fact that
stick
Jake
with it
Kelly,
until it works.
Yeah, he's the Jake Kelly is an example. Like Jake Kelly again. I mean, he was serviceable, but is that taking us forward? I don't think it is, personally. But he'll stick. I would guarantee there'll be barely a player dropped between this week and next week. It'll be Perkins will be out, injured. Menzies maybe, but there's no one to bring in there. There's no small forward dominating. We haven't played VFL, so back to the Laverde. I would be looking to get rid of him at the end of the year.
It's a great point you make about Hayes, though.
Yep.
Because if he's the depth and he's not quite good enough, well, at least you're playing a kid.
Yeah.
At least you're getting games into someone who you think, well, maybe in 3 or 4 years' time, he's going to be a great footballer.
Yep.
Lav, I mean, we had that 1 year where we had no one else, and I hate the phrase, he battled manfully. He was always outsized, but he always gave
and he had a good year.
His all. But Jesus Christ. The second part of that question is if you had Mackay, Laverde and Ridley, does that change Laverde's game? Is he a double victim of circumstance in that he has to replace Reed and there's no Ridley?
Possibly, but the fact of the matter is that, if we hadn't got Mackay this year, for example, think of that.
Because BZT was gone anyway.
Imagine Mackay picked Hawthorn. No, I'm going to go to Hawthorn. I think I'll go there and play. He had every right to go pick there. Yep. And Zerk had still left. So we couldn't offer him what he wanted, even though maybe we might have turned that around. But it might have been just
had to give him a little bit more.
Yeah, we might have had to pay more, which would have been just ridiculous because he was shit, to be honest, last night I watched him play.
Yeah, he didn't have to. We didn't have to do anything, but the things he did do, he was outplayed.
Yeah. So I'm like, but you're possibly right that he might be a victim of circumstances in the thing, but it could be worse. He could be our number one tall defender at the moment.
Hells is still at the club. I wonder if he'd get a game.
Yeah, he's Neil Bear. He could run it. And this is a guarantee. I want to see some younger players, and I wanted to see this for a while. Like the reason you play a Reed is because you want to see what he can do. And the fact that he broke down in one game, you go, well, that's a massive concern. Maybe that's something worrying that now I would say, well, let's play 3 games in the VFL. Let's see if he can get through that now and before he can play seniors. The other one, Hayes, well, his body's playing VFL, so that's working. Let's come and see him in the AFL, see how far off he is. Like, is he too small? Is he front? But you can't argue he's not strong enough because Cox plays every week. And I don't mind Cox, but his biggest issue is no body strength. He's cannot
beaten in the one-on-ones,
Yeah, one-on-ones he gets flogged. So
what's Hayes' first name?
I'm going to say Sam, but that doesn't feel right.
No, it's L. Hayes because I always call him Lenny.
Lewis,
thank you.
So I would like to see him come in, be honest. And as for the Archie Robertson Lau, whatever we're going with it, 100% have no problem with that. I would probably like to see him play another VFL or 2 games, see if that
Lau hasn't done much, to be honest, but Roberts has.
Heppel wasn't horrible last night, but it was the normal Heppel game we see every week.
Yeah. For reference, Lewis Hayes, 199 centimetres. And
199.
They don't post the weights anymore, but 199. Yeah. And again, strikes me as a bit more of a Ridley build in that he's a bit more agile, a bit more jumpy.
Yep. He's a bit worried. His brother plays for Port, I think. He's a ruckman at Port. Hayes or something like
Sam
that.
Hayes, yeah. We were...
Yeah.
Me and you wanted him, but before we got Goldie.
So why not play him instead of Laverde?
Yeah. Again, at least if he's shit, well, we played a kid. And now we know what he needs to work on.
If he's shit,
I doubt he would be shit, to be honest.
No, I don't think
he would be the kind of guy
either.
that would just come in and be reasonable to me, which is a stupid thing to say, given I've never watched him play. But
yeah, I've watched him play VFL, and I thought he's okay. And that was last year. I thought, this kid's got his positioning's good. He's
at 199, that's a good height.
Well, that's right.
Especially if he can be more agile.
It's just coming down to the body. His body seems to be able to put up with AFL, and at the moment, we're struggling to find those guys.
And if he can actually hold on to a mark too, that'd be a big tick.
Well, he took 8 or 10 last week.
Imagine that, going from no one in that back six who can take a mark last year to 2 this year. I'll exclude Ridley from that comment, but the rest of them can get stuffed.
But Ridley, we might have to accept he might not play this year.
No,
seriously,
you'd hope maybe round 10. Bit of a Peter Wright.
But if he's re-injured this in training...
Maybe.
Which...
The body's not that straightforward. You know the body's not that straightforward. Just because he did it again doesn't mean he'll do it again. Same with Zach.
No, but it might just take longer for it all to...
Maybe. But it won't be a full year for a quad. Let's not get too doomsday scenario here. Bless you. Wonder if I could pause that and get a still image of you.
We did this in another thing the other day, and Sam cracked himself up when I was sneezing.
You were laughing as well.
I was laughing
very much.
It was pretty funny.
We did a test run for a little idea we had, and we weren't taking it very seriously, but we were recording, and Nathan sneezed like 7 times in a row, and it was hilarious when you paused it. I wish I'd kept it. I deleted it because Nathan thought I'd use it against him.
I did.
You were right.
I did feel that would come back at me.
All right, let's crack on with some votes. A hard game to 2 votes on, but one vote for me was Mackay. I thought the defensive one-on-ones was a great individual win for him. I gave 2 to Martin. Like I said, I thought he was more impactful this week than last. 35 touches is, that's still a lot of football. And 3 votes to everyone's shock, Zach Merritt.
Yeah, well, same for me. 3 for Merritt, 2 for Dursman. I really like his game against the old opposition. That's always must be hard to play against a lot of mates. So some guys I reckon go into their shell. Some guys, especially when you get smashed. Some guys come out of it. And I gave 1 vote to Martin too, for similar reason. I thought he was much more influential in this game, but also special mentions to Mackay and Gresham. I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah, Gresh. I had Gresh initially, but just for 4-quarter effort, changed it out.
Yeah, his first quarter was unreal. I thought, geez, he's on. Yeah,
very good. And the listener this week, who, upon reflection, might not be an Essendon supporter, but anyway, game's the game. Andy Chuano, whose comment was Port by 15 goals, Essendon are a rabble team.
It could be an Essendon supporter. You can't really tell by that.
It was the closest, albeit 21 points off. Someone else was 25 points off. So, yikes. He did same plays as you, different order. So 3 to Merritt, 2 to Rusty Martin, and then 1 to Dersma, which I have no issue with. It's always hard giving votes in a game where you get flogged. Oh, God. We're both trying to type at the same time. That was weird. We've made great improvements here at the Don Pod. We used to write all this in like a chat and just send it to each other so we'd know roughly what was coming next. Now I have a spreadsheet for the BNF. We've got a live document that we can both see. Nathan's just
technology's come so far for us.
It's weird. I can tell him
we use it all the time at work, but we're like hesitant to use it at home. Like, nope.
I can tell Nathan to shut the fuck up without even saying it. I need to.
And And Sam does document management in his professional career. So
Yeah.
you can imagine how frustrated he is by me.
I'm shocking at it though in my real life. It's only when I'm getting paid to do it that I'm okay. All right. I don't think there's any point in doing around the grounds because we're recording this on a Saturday afternoon when it's probably half time in the Sydney West Coast game about now.
And West Coast were up.
And they were ahead early. I haven't checked it since before we.
38 to 36 or something when I just saw it.
Go on the coast.
Yeah, go on the coasters.
What
do you think of Gather Round?
I like it. I liked it last year. Could have been because we won, admittedly. Look,
I don't like playing an Adelaide side in Adelaide.
No, that's a bit rough.
Can't
Adelaide
just play each other? Can't that just be the thing?
There was talk about that. Look, luck of the draw. Like I said earlier, we got Friday night prime time against the home state. Like that's actually a good result for the football club generally.
But yeah, like playing a neutral team, at least I'm
sure
you're
AFL,
a little bit. Well, we're both coming to a ground. We're not
sure
really.
The AFL regret that decision.
Yeah.
What's good for us is that both times we've played at Adelaide Oval, so we're still getting recognition as at least being a big club.
Oh, we get a big crowd,
boys.
Yeah. Do you reckon they should play it in Tassie when the Tassie club arrives?
So
I don't think they've got the grounds, but
Adelaide have got it for 2 more years, I believe. Then there's talk about it going to WA, and then I did see talk about it going to Tassie once they're in the comp. No issues with that. I honestly don't care as long as it's not in New South Wales or Queensland. If you're going to have a footy festival, keep it in the footy states.
I still would like the idea of it all just playing at rural grounds. Like one weekend where you go play at like Wangaratta, you go play in, Bendigo or, somewhere up in New South Wales or a small ground like that. Like,
can't be Victoria. That's the issue.
No, but small grounds, like rural.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, I like the concept. I like the festival of footy. I like that everyone's sort of bought into it. All the media are talking positively about it. It's nice. It's different to have that sort of positivity around something.
Yeah. So I don't care for it, to be honest, but I don't care for it enough to not care, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you. Like I say, as long as it's not Queensland or New South Wales, I don't care where it is.
Yep.
That's fine. And WA.
Well, they already sort of had a gather round in that zero.
Well,
like that
round zero, yeah.
Like that's kind of a gather round itself. Stupid thing.
Let's not go back to that. Next week we've got 3 Friday night games in a row. We play the Dogs next Friday night at Marvel.
Which I think, strangely enough, I actually think will be better because that ground suits us. That team will suit us.
Before last night, I would have said we were half a chance. Now I'm sitting a bit more pessimistically.
I still think we're half a chance, strangely enough. It's the stupidness of me, but I still think we played better footy on that ground with the roof closed.
Yes. Which is not good, really, for the club.
That's not good. But it's the style of football, that pressure forward, that kicking, that running.
The Dogs have a midfield that suit us. So you think about the players that did the damage last night, Jason Horne-Francis and Rosie. Was it Rosie that kicked the 3 or Butters? It was Rosie, wasn't it? And then Butters as well. They're bigger bodies.
Well, they're running midfielders. They're guys that stream it. Although they do have a guy called Bontempelli. He's a pretty big bloke.
That's what I was going to say. Outside of Bont, they don't really have a midfield that stacks in terms of the size of the player, not the ability, the size.
Yep.
So I think we'll be okay in that regard. Again, it's going to be, can we...
Rucking will be interesting because they've definitely got the best ruckman in the competition.
English, yep. Well, conversation.
Equal best in the conversation for it, yeah.
Top 3. Yep. Say that without any arguments. It's going to be, can we defend the transition? And if we can defend the transition and break even at centre clearances, we'll be okay. The issue, which is a double-edged sword, I realise, we're great winning centre clearances, but we've been quite reliant on scoring from those centre clearances. So if we're not able to score from that, where our scores come from is the next issue. So
and they don't come a lot out of the back 6.
Yes, correct. And we're okay at that last night for the first quarter and a bit. Yep. So the Dogs' defence, not sure.
It's not their strength. Their strength is their forward line, like Ugelhagen and
oh god, yes.
What's his name now?
Norton,
yeah. And,
Darcy's playing now, isn't he, as well?
Darcy, yeah, he's been playing down there. So they got some really good tools. They got some very good smalls in Waitman and. And so no doubt one of their smalls will kick 3 against us.
Any hope I had just went. As soon as you said Ugelhagen.
But in saying that, even Port Adelaide, like I know their tools kicked a few goals, but it wasn't ridiculous. It was their midfielders that really killed us. And Bont could definitely do a job on us. But I also think Setterfield's a pretty good match for him in that, he's someone. Bont's is not pace. He's not slow or anything, but
his strength.
Yeah, it's strength and size that's going to drive him out of the centre clearances, whereas Setterfield can hang with that at least. The big loss, I think, will be Perkins. I think he's had a pretty good year so far, and he brings a bit of difference to our midfield, like that shake and bake.
Good segue.
Sort of midfielder.
Ins and outs. You've done most of this. I've just added Durham. Lenny Hayes in with Durham, assuming Durham's fine from the concussion protocol.
Yeah, 12 days, whatever you mentioned, so that's passed.
It should be 13 days.
Yeah,
13 days.
Yeah. Yep. So there's a swap for Perkins at least. That's a positive.
And Perkins, and you've got Goldie out. That's fair enough, but that means we need in.
Yep. Nicky Bryant.
And who are you having out for Lenny Hayes? Oh, no, it's not Lenny. Reference.
Well, sorry, it's Hayes. Well, obviously it's Laverde out for Hayes. I just can't have him. Like brings nothing to the team. The other ones, obviously, Menzies, Hind. Really, is Hind a sub?
Yeah, well, he's quick. That's kind of the prerequisite.
Oh, fucking, he's quick. Yeah, he's quick. He's quick at doing nothing. Like, Jesus. Like, maybe we should just bring a tall in. Like, why do we have to bring a quick on that does nothing? Like, why not just bring a tall on that can do nothing?
Because you're covering more bases.
What?
With
how helpful was he defending? Like, because, they stopped scoring when he came on.
You've got 6 tall players on the field and 12 not tall players on the field. So you just... Yeah.
I don't know. I want to see something different. I can guarantee we won't do much different. Brad Scott, the thing that I've noticed in the first year and a half, he's not Kevin Sheedy. He goes, nah, fuck it, throw the board around, let's move some players, see what happens. Or even Hurd did that, let's just swing him around, see what they do. He's like, no, same as last week, we'll just chip away at it. One day I'll get sacked and then I'll be, well, it wasn't my fault, it was the club.
10 out of 10 Brad Scott impression. Yeah, I think Lav for Hayes is one of those ones that we'd like to see but never will.
Yep.
We have a lot of them.
That's a love. And I think Goldie for Brian is a like to see but won't get.
Yep. I reckon that's more likely because Goldie just might be a bit knackered.
Possibly, but I bet you we'll just get Durham for Perkins.
That would be disappointing. Really disappointing.
60-odd point loss, I reckon if you make one change, and we've seen it before when we're frustrated after a flogging, and they make one change.
And I draw your attention then to what Gold Coast did this week.
Yeah,
Damien Hardwick lost one game and
blew the candles out of it.
5 of them.
Yep, and senior players, Sexton, guys that
are get dropped as well.
Yep, guys that are in their late 20s, that are going, well, no. And he's brought in first-round draft picks from the last year and the year before and said, well, let's see what they can do. And I'm like, yeah, support that. Let's see what they can do. That's why he's a three-time premiership coach, and Brad Scott's not.
He's a 2-time prelim final coach.
You don't get medals for those.
No one remembers.
No one remembers. Unless you lose them.
The hope I'd clung on to from that specific example was I don't think North list at that time was very good, but he got them to prelims. So I was kind of thinking, well, if you can kind of replicate that, at least we get the monkey off the back with.
We've got the not very good list bit.
Tick. Well, I thought we might have had in 2 or 3 years' time, better list than what he had at North. But obviously my respect for North there isn't enough because...
No, well, we don't have respect for North. And that's part of our problem is that, again, I'll go back to Brisbane just flogged North by about the same as what we got flogged by. And we're all sitting here thinking we're a good side. We're not. We're so far off it. So many holes in that team that just need to be fixed.
I'd like to go through the last 5, 10, 15 years and go, when did the bubble burst? I know 2022 it was Geelong because we got hammered by them in round 1. Last year,
what game went we're fucked? Yeah. Well, Geelong it was that round 1.
Yeah, but then last year it took until pretty much the GWS game, really.
Yeah.
We were okay until that point.
Yep, it was part way through the season. Oh, I think we might have had a little touch-up somewhere, but there was after the bye round.
The close games against North were a bit average. The 1-point win against West Coast was very average.
Very average.
In Melbourne.
I went to that game. It was horrible.
Less.
Yep.
But yeah, the 21 goal loss to the Giants, probably.
Yep. It's what we get told every week that I know we get frustrated by, but I do genuinely think that they need to come up with some different, like, why not just say, like, I can't believe this Ed shit. Why not just say, we're pretty ordinary at the moment and we're a long way off it. Until we start beating teams or not getting flogged by 10 goals, then we'll talk to you.
Yep.
Until that happens, we're just a long way off it. Everyone needs to get better. The club needs to get better. I need to get better as a coach. So, and my assistant. Did you notice too? Actually, just to jump in there, did you see that little bit of assistant coach discussion at the end of the game?
No.
So at the very end of the game, siren sounds, and they cut to the coach's box as they do. And in the coach's box, the Essendon coach's box, they're all standing up and looking back at like the guy on the second row. Well, I don't know who that was, but they're all in a real discussion. You could see they're all like, and I reckon they're saying, well, what the fuck went wrong there? Like, seriously, we all thought we were probably coming in this game thinking, oh, yeah, we're all right. We could sneak a win or at least be in it, but we have just been touched. And I reckon there was someone senior in there going, this is not acceptable. This is round 4, and we've just been touched by 10 goals. I'm not paying you boys a lot of money to hand out this shit to the club and to the supporters because that's ordinary.
My initial response to that was that after the full-time siren, it's too late. That conversation might have been had at half-time.
Yeah, yep. Fair enough.
And 2, there's actually a good question I was going to ask you that's a good segue to. Think back to the Richmond game, Michael Hurley's last game.
Yep.
Which also turned out to be Ben Rutten's last game.
Yeah.
Are we in a better position as a football club right now than we were then?
No. No, I don't. Well, I think
we
as
are.
a football club, we are. Yes, probably yes. As a whole, administration, all those sort of things are better.
Yep.
I'm sure that's true. As a club, like as in win-loss, ability to play good games of football, which is really what we care about as supporters. Yep. We don't care about the administration. That's the stuff they should get right.
No, but it's proven time and again that good administration.
Definitely, you're right. It's an important part of it.
In on-field.
Let's go on that theory that by getting that stuff a bit better, that the club itself will get better. But my concern is that we've got still too many players that are skill error problems, like the Hobbses and McGraths and guys like that who just can't fucking kick the ball properly. Like seriously, and we've got just a couple of just fucking guys that aren't up to the standard of the competition. I don't think, for example, I don't think Hind is. I don't think Menzies is. Laverde is probably. I think just a couple of those guys. Just I often go back to this. You find your worst players in your team, and depending on how well they're playing, is how well the rest of the team's playing. And you look at Collingwood last year; they had a couple of guys that were literally ordinary players, but they had their best seasons, and that just helped them become a club. Until that we get our bottom 6 playing really good footy consistently, we're in the same boat. We're just shit.
Agreed. I will say one final thing on the whole off-field stuff. I had a video pop up on my TikTok of Brendan Gale being interviewed in 2010 by, I think it was Gary Lyon and a few others, saying we're going to win 3 flags by 2020.
Yeah.
Now, they won 3 flags by 2021. So technically the prick was wrong. But they were borderline laughing at that man for coming on there and saying such, at the time, outlandish statements. Keep in mind, Richmond were a rabble around that time. Rabble. Them and Port Adelaide, it was a fight for who was worse.
Yep.
And they turned it around and won 3 flags in the time that we've done nothing. And you could say that about a lot of teams have done that. West Coast have won a flag, gone to shit, won a flag, gone to shit again. Yeah, because they won a flag in 06. So
Collingwood have gone to shit and come back and won flags.
They never really went to shit.
Wow, they weren't. They got dropped down pretty low. Under Buckley, they were down pretty low.
Carlton was shittos, and now they seem to be okay. No flags there.
Well, they're certainly in a better place than us.
Brisbane were awful and have now made it a grand final that they could have very easily won.
GWS?
Giants. Well, yeah, I think that 1 year they were a bit shit was an anomaly, but
They still were shit.
they were getting pumped in the early 2010s. Yeah. Anyway,
every club has gone down and come up except for us.
We hover around the middle section of that line,
and we give ourselves this false hope.
And it's our own fault, though.
Yeah, of course it is. It's 100% our own fault. Because we're thinking, I'm already thinking I can beat the Dogs next week.
Oh, tip, please.
Essendon by 12 points.
I'm going to say Bulldogs by 27. And I'm going to wrap it up there because if I wrap it up quick enough, we might finish in an hour on the dot. And that's pretty cool. So Thanks for tuning in to the Don Pod. I appreciate your company and we'll talk to you again next week. Go Dons.
Go Bombers.
I think I've got 5 seconds. Just hang with us.
3.
Go Dons.
2. 1.